and frustrated, refusing to become jaded. Don't give up, searching for, can't give up. There's something more around the world, and still no dawn, filling my world. Moving on, come along. Why, when I follow my heart, I end up right where I start? Won't you come along? I wonder if you come along. Seeking ways to learn and grow, for new ways to pray, but do you know how to get there? All around me, it's everywhere. I know you found me, but still you stare. So much to see, but do you see me? Why, when I follow my heart, I end up right where I start? Won't you come along? I wonder if you come along. It seems as though I've been asking everyone I know instead what's happening to the ends of the earth. I find my questions to the answers that I'm requesting. Why do things keep going wrong? I think I'm moving on, I'm growing strong. I've stayed too long. From the beginning of time, searching for answers that I find. Answers in you and me. Oh, come along with me. Come along, Chico. Come along, move along, Chico. Come along, yeah. Won't you come along? Oh, come along. Come along. Come along. Somewhere, come somewhere. Come along. Will you move along with me? Yeah. Come along. Oh, come along. Yeah. Come along. Oftentimes I think of you, I think of things that we could do, given the opportunity to love. There would be no time for childish games. Too bad you don't even know my name. Response of simple fantasies of love. Hoping, kissing, touching, missing you with all that we've shared. The cares would fade away as the days would pass and we stayed together. The sun would go down and the stars would light up as our love remained forever. This is just a fantasy love. This is just a fantasy of love. Some days I just sit and wonder and pray to God that maybe under a tree in the rain you'd be waiting for me. Our emotions, they forever linger with this ring I place on your finger. It could show just what a love be. Hoping, touching, kissing, missing you with all that we've shared. Cares would fade away as the days would pass and we stay together. The sun would go down and the stars would light up as our love remained forever. This is just a fantasy love. This is just a fantasy of love. I need you in my life, and with you by my side, we can conquer anything. With you and me, together we fly like birds of a feather. And I hope and pray one day you would see. Hoping, touching, kissing, missing you with all that we've shared. The cares would fade away as the days would pass and we stay together. The sun and the moon and the stars in the skies would pass as we lay forever. This is just us. This is just us. This is just my fantasy of love.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's event. Please feel free to share comments or reactions in the Zoom chat or on Facebook throughout.
Welcome to Riverside Community Care's celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy and Black History Month. This year's theme is the lived experience of Dr. King's dream. I am Angela Crutchfield, and I'm responsible for diversity and inclusion at Riverside. Riverside is a nonprofit organization that makes a difference in the lives of individuals, families, and communities through innovative and compassionate mental health, substance use, and human services. Riverside serves over 40,000 people across Massachusetts and is extending its reach around the globe through consulting and digital products, one of which you'll hear about later in the program today. Today, we celebrate Dr. King by acknowledging that a dream is still a dream that can be achieved even with mental health challenges. A dream is also a wish your heart makes. Kimberley Locke from American Idol Season 2 is one whose dream definitely came true. Please help me welcome singer, songwriter, and TV personality Kimberley Locke, who will share a few thoughts and perform the Disney song, "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes," a song she recorded on the Disney Mania 3 album.
Dr. Angela, thank you so much for that introduction and opening words to this program. I found myself nodding and saying yes to a lot of what you were saying, and I'm really glad to be here with Riverside Community Care today to shine a light on not only Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy, but also to share with the world, that he had some struggles too, and that, we're not alone on this journey, that there are other people going through similar things as we are. So thank you for having me. In A Dream Deferred, Langston Hughes writes, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like a rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?" Has Dr. King's dream been deferred? With the challenges we face today, such as infant mortality disparities of Black infants, healthcare disparities of minority groups, both in access and outcomes, poverty, and lived experience, particularly among Black men, among many other difficult situations that plague the Black community, I ask, how far have we come? More importantly than how far have we come is, where are we going? Martin Luther King once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands during challenge and controversy." And I guess one of the great agonies of life is that we are constantly trying to finish that which is unfinishable. That is from Martin Luther King Jr., Unfulfilled Dreams, 1968. Even with the lived experience, Dr. King's dream can be a reality in your life. I encourage you all to be inspired and challenged to personalize the dream, even in your lived experience. Let your wish manifest as the dream that Dr. King believed. Let it not be deferred. And let us all continue in this journey to finish the seemingly unfinishable, because your dream is a wish you make with your heart.
A dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep. In dreams you will lose your heartaches. Whatever you wish Have faith in your dreams, and someday your rainbow will come smiling through. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. A dream is a wish your heart makes when you're feeling small, yeah, alone in the night you whisper, thinking no one can hear you at all. You wake with the morning sunlight to find fortune that is smiling on you. Don't let your heart be filled with sorrow, for all you know tomorrow, the dream that you wish will come true. A dream is a wish your heart made, yeah. When you're fast asleep, oh, in dreams you will lose your heartache. Oh, whatever you wish for, you keep. Oh, you wake with the morning sunlight to find fortune that is smiling on you. Don't let your heart be filled with sorrow, for all you know tomorrow, the dream that you wish will come true. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. Ooh, yeah, come true.
Please welcome Paulo Fulton, Vice President of Human Resources at Riverside.
Good morning. Thank you for attending our celebration today. As you know, our celebration today is focusing on the lived experience of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and similarly so many others today. I must be honest and tell you that until we began creating this celebration, I did not know that Dr. King had his own lived experience with mental health challenges. I'm not sure most people do know this, and I thought to myself, why is that? We all actually know the answer. Mental health struggles are not something we talk about. There's a stigma surrounding it. If one of us contracted COVID, we'd probably tell our coworkers. It might even be a conversation at a party and people would be interested. What was it like? How did it feel? There would be many questions. If you broke your leg and came to work on crutches, people would ask how it happened. Many of us would have no issue sharing the story of how you broke your leg. Mental health struggles are somehow perceived as different. Today, we are celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., beginning the celebration of Black History Month and helping us all on a journey to understand the importance of normalizing struggles with mental health. Mental health struggles impact us all, even our heroes, and we all deserve to reach our dreams without feeling ashamed or embarrassed for who we are. Dr. King and so many others today with lived experience are living their dream. They find the strength to rise above the challenges to reach amazing heights of success. Jerome Kyles, a vocalist, pianist, and organist, recently celebrated his 20th anniversary as a professor in the voice department of Berklee College of Music. And for 20 years, he was minister of music at Morning Star Baptist Church in Boston. He has performed with musical notables, including the Boston Pops and Diana Ross, Ruben Studdard, and was the star of the TLC reality series Trial by Choir, coaching Boston teens in their journey to forming a choir. Jerome also recently released his album, Come Along. As we remember the legacy of Dr. King, let us remember how he was able to rise above his challenges with mental illness. Singing Still I Rise, please welcome Jerome Kyles.
Shattered, but I'm not broken. Wounded, but time will heal. Heavy the load, the cross I bear. Lonely the road I trod, I dare. Shaken, but here I stand. Weary, still I press on. Long are the nights, the tears I cry. Dark are the days, no sun in the sky. Yet still I rise, never to give up, never to give in against all odds. Yet still I rise.
Welcome Riverside's founder and Chief Executive Officer, Scott Bach.
Thank you, Jerome. That was wonderful. Good afternoon. Let me start by saying I'm so inspired and encouraged by all we've experienced so far today. This is my 39th year serving Riverside Community Care, and I'm more encouraged today than ever before. Each day meeting the needs of the people we serve, supporting all of our wonderful employees, including people with lived experiences from all backgrounds and cultures, reflects the infusion of Dr. King's dream and life right here at Riverside. It's our hope that by acknowledging the lived experience of Dr. King and entertainers such as Nina Simone, we're encouraging healthy dialogue about lived experience and the fact that it does not limit the ability to dream and live out those dreams. Our keynote speaker today is no stranger to lived experience or living dreams. At 30 years old, Reverend Justin Lester is the youngest pastor in the 200-year history of Congdon Street Baptist Church in Providence, the oldest historically Black church in Rhode Island. He views an important part of his calling as a pastor, the mission to uproot discrimination in all forms and to build up the church and the community from there. He finds the words of Dr. Martin Luther King as relevant today as ever. Reverend Lester says his life's been a journey, and he's written a book, Necessary Endings, where he details his journey through mental health and well-being. He attended Marquette University and Vanderbilt University, earning 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees while leading a few student organizations along the way. Currently, he's a Doctor of Ministry candidate at Boston University School of Theology. Reverend Lester's an adjunct professor at Providence College in the Black Studies Department, a religious life affiliate at Brown University, and serves on the board of directors for the Rhode Island State Council of Churches. He loves coffee, fitness, and all things Marquette basketball and Green Bay Packers. Beyond all of this, he's working to leave a legacy, his wife Courtney and their son Camden. It's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Reverend Justin Lester.
Thank you guys so very much. It's such an honor to be here with you, and to Mr. Bach, to all of you, to Dr. Angela, amazing partner here at Congdon Street, and to Kimberly and Dr. Jerome. I'm so honored to be a part of this just great cohort of people as we engage in the legacy of Dr. King, and honestly speak about a part of his life that was that I think is overlooked. And prayerfully today, as we jump into this, I can grab a hold of that. You guys saw that my book was mentioned. It's a book called Necessary Endings, and I have a copy here as well. I'm going to speak about it a little bit later, but in 2014 was the second time I actually personally had attempted suicide, and I'm grateful to still be alive today. But the person I am today is because of really what I detail in here about 4 mindset shifts that I had to have change in my life, and 4 things I called 4 funerals and necessary endings, things that needed to end so that I'm able to begin again and to live the life that I know that we were created to live, to be the person that God is desiring us to be. And so I'm grateful to be here, and let's jump into this today. I'm to all of you who are attendees, those of you who are on Facebook as well, please engage. I think it's always so much fun to talk back and engage holistically. And as my bio mentioned, I'm a Black preacher, and so it's kind of weird to be in a space where I'm not able to see people as I speak, but I'm enjoying comments and engaging holistically together. To establish where I'm coming from for this, I'm a 32-year-old male, I'm a husband, and I'm a dad, and for me, in that order. And it's taken me some years to finally get to a place where I could own that reality and be comfortable in the skin that I'm in, and to own my Blackness, to own my thinking, my feeling, and my doing. It's taken years to really, truly get there. And one of the turning points for me to tell you was, well, when I stopped lying to people. And let me qualify that statement. I hate the question, how are you, right? I think it's one of the most annoying questions there is, because no one really wants to hear how you're really doing. I mean, think about it, right? When someone asks you the question, how are you? We have these planned responses. I've seen research and work out there about how to actually answer that question. I'm fine, I'm well, I'm good, what type of vernacular you're using, what part of America you're in, what part of the world you're in, how you're supposed to respond to the question, how are you? Because people don't really want to hear the honest answer. And I remember a day I was overwhelmed with work. I was overwhelmed with stress. I was overwhelmed with life and just everything. And someone had the audacity to ask me, Justin, how are you? And so I said, fine, if you don't ask me, I'm gonna tell you. And I responded with honesty. I'm happy, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm ready to give up. I want to get to the end of the day. And you know what? Frankly put, I want something from 2015 in Paso Robles. I need a good glass of wine. I remember being honest, and I never will forget that judgment. I never will forget that facial response. I never will forget that body language. And I never will forget the response the person said to me. They looked back and said, Justin, you're just supposed to tell me that you're fine. I didn't really want to know how you were really doing. How are you? And I think that basic question can have a response as a dissertation or have a basic response. How are you? That simple question can change the trajectory of your entire day. That how are you? That simple question can change the dynamics of your relationships and friendships. How are you? I think it's a powerful question that really gets a real response. Because the world we live in a world full of triggers, and a world full of cancel culture, a world full of toxicity, a world can't handle honesty. And I'm not just talking honest negativity, but honest happiness. Think about the ways we talk about happy people, optimistic people. And that when you sit there and you respond with happiness, hold up, something is supposed to be making you sad. The world can't handle honest pain. Get through it, get over it. Weeping may endure for a night, but you better find the joy in the morning. But right now, I'm sitting in the weeping that endures for a night. The world can't handle honest frustration, honest joy, honest optimism. And then, in the context of our conversation today, people who are honestly seeking for the change of people they may never meet. And so let me create space today in our conversation as we look at the life of Dr. King. I wonder what would have happened if somebody came to him, sat down over a cup of coffee and said, Dr. King, how are you? And I wonder what it would have been like to have people around him that didn't enable him to do the other things that we get frustrated when we hear about, but to really enable him to answer that question honestly, that could lead to a healthy balance of mental stability, a healthy balance of supporting others and supporting yourself, a healthy balance of engaging in hobbies that don't lead to addiction. So my question to pose today, as I'm sitting here as a Black male, as I'm looking at the work that Riverside is doing, is straight up, how are you? No, really, how are your dreams doing? How are your passions? If you allow me to come, I love coffee. I have a cup of coffee as my second one since we'll be sitting here today. If I'm sitting across the table to you today, how's your soul? How's your family? How's your sleep? How are your relationships? If we're going to consider lived experiences of dreams, I want us to consider simply, how are you? That your dreams are so powerful, they paint the tapestry of the world with bold colors and power that's necessary to change the world. How are you? Your passions are the necessary cogs in the wheel that spins towards the future. How are you? Your goals are the pages in the book that the future can't wait to purchase and read, because you aren't living somebody else's dreams. You're living your dreams, standing on the shoulders of the past, anticipating the future with the ability to maximize the present. You are the water in the desert that everybody is praying for. You are the possibility. How are you? And I wonder how different our lives would be if we meant the question, listened to the answer, and were comfortable with the tension of the ugliness, the pain, the frustration, the love, and the joy that comes with it. King, how are you? Martin Luther King is a meaningful man in the 50s and 60s. And I think was also a victim of circumstance and a beneficiary of circumstances. Allow me to qualify that. King was thrust into the limelight in the 1950s because, well, here's this brother who just so happened to just graduate from Boston University with his PhD. He moved down to Montgomery, Alabama, 170 miles from his parents, in Atlanta, Georgia, pastoring at Ebenezer Baptist Church. He's thrust into this leadership role as a 20-some-odd preacher who's eloquent, who can speak with boldness and power at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, and who just so happened to have a friend of his named Rosa Parks, who was the president of the local NAACP and had deacons at his church who were friends with Sister Rosa that wanted him to be a part of the NAACP. But King said, listen, I have so much I want to do at Dexter Avenue. I have so much I'm trying to research and write because I just finished my PhD. I'm married to this wonderful woman named Coretta, and I have a child. I'm not really wanting to get into a leadership position, but the leaders at his church kept pushing Martin to do so. So 2 weeks after Rosa didn't move her seat, he gets into this leadership position, and there happens to be a meeting at Holt Street Baptist Church that evening at 4 p.m. King is thrust in front of 4,000 people, 3,000 outside of Holt Street, 1,000 inside of Holt Street. King didn't ask to give remarks. He didn't ask to be the leader of this movement. He didn't ask to do anything, but it happened of circumstance, and this powerful Black preacher happened to get up and just share some thoughts in his heart. And King began to talk about how justice can roll down like a mighty stream in the 1950s. Next thing you know, there's a Montgomery bus boycott, and at the front of it is this young Black preacher who didn't ask to be there. He just happened to be there. But because no one asked him how he was doing, they didn't wonder why King kept saying no when people kept trying to position him. Because we have to remember, this is the same man who attempted suicide twice in his teenage years after the death of his grandmother, but was told to pray just a little bit harder. This is the same man who had known sexual indiscretions and conscious decisions throughout his life to fill these voids of anger and animosity towards a movement that he was afraid at the end of his life was a failure because of the tension he had with Black Panther Party and other people around the country, and how people turned his back on him because he kept going on a journey of his life. All he did was have a dream. This is the same man who 1 year before his death was so obsessed with his death that his therapist told him he needed to be treated for mental instability and well-being and manic depression, only to be told by his confidants and his circle that for the good of the movement, get through it, but don't take a break from it. This is the same man who we quote the same three speeches from his time in Montgomery, the dream he had in 63 and the mountaintop he envisioned in 68. But imagine a life where for 15 to 20 years, out of 365 days a year, you speak over 300 times with countless press conferences, pastoring the church, all because one day in Montgomery, you got up and opened your mouth to advocate for a member of your church. And one day in Washington, everybody remembers you had a dream, but nobody wants to hear about the nightmares you have because of the bombs on your doorstep, the worry about your children going to church, or the police officers that come to the front of your house and tell you that they agree with those who put the bombs at your door. This same man where alcoholism and addiction and sexual addiction and loneliness caused him to tell all of his friends he would die before 40, and we buried him at 39. I just wonder myself if someone had sat down with Dr. King across the table and simply said, Dr. King, how are you? Not what we can get from you, because we've got your dreams, but we don't want to hear about your nightmares. We've got your future, we've got your goals. We don't want to hear about the things that are ugly for you. Dr. King, how are you? That's the power of Howard Thurman and Benjamin Mays in his life. They sat him down at Morehouse and sat him down at BU and said, King, before you go forward, how are you? Not what you can do for me, not what's available in your speeches, not what your next big decision is going to be, but how are you? I wonder what would happen for us if we're going to consider lived experiences. We must consider the fullness of lived experiences. It's in the beauty of ugliness we can see full and true beauty. It's in the practices of our lives that we see the beauty of the gains. It's in the losses we can see gains. It's in failure we can see success. How are you? I love that King had a dream. I love that King desired to create a table that included all people. I love to believe that, but I also refuse to believe that he wanted us to be confined to his dream in 63 as we sit in 2021. I love that King saw the mountaintop, but I refuse to believe he wanted us to die on that mountaintop. I love that King wanted justice to roll down like a mighty stream. I also believe that King wanted us to do much more than to watch justice roll down, but to be the active pursuers of justice to ensure that the stream that starts in one city has the same fresh water in another city. How are you? And as we consider 2020, I think we saw so many different pandemics and problems that came to light, whether that was COVID-19, COVID 2020, COVID 16-19, and so many other numbers we can put behind COVID. Pandemics have been revealed. And one of the many pandemics we saw was one related to mental well-being and mental instability, in particular in Black and Brown communities. And this shouldn't be a surprise, honestly, because the same issue arose back in the 1980s at the beginning of the HIV and AIDS epidemic. We saw how that presented a plethora of issues for mental health and well-being in Black and Brown communities. The same thing continued in the 1990s. The same thing continued with the crime bills in the 1990s, where we saw our Black fathers and Black sons pushed into prison systems, the prison industrial complex, where they made rooms based upon how many Black boys were in fourth grade, meaning that your goal was not to get the goal of the community was not to push you into college. It was to push you into the jail cell, because we saw you more valuable to make a jail cell for you in fourth grade than to create a scholarship for you. That created mental instability and mental sickness in Black communities. The same thing happened with the 9/11 that revealed a lack of access that only contributed and can continue to build in the recession in 2008. My challenge to us, let's not act surprised that we saw this pandemic of mental sickness in our communities, mental illness in our communities, because I don't want us to wait for the next pandemic to be surprised that the same problem that's happening in our Black and brown communities when it comes to mental well-being has been effervescent since slavery. Black women and Black men have been told to be strong in places where others are given the freedom to be weak. That's the Mandingo effect we saw in plantations. The same effect that causes us to glamorize the sweat and the anger of Black bodies in sports. The same effect that causes us to continue to watch the video of George Floyd's death, to share images of Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant and the video of the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, and to show the videos of Michael Brown bleeding out in the street, or Eric Gardner gasping for his last breath, because for some reason, we still get excited about Black trauma. If you don't believe me, let me contextualize it with Dr. King. One of the main pictures we continue to show of Dr. King is watching 7 Black men point towards where he was shot from, or his son crying next to his mother at his funeral while his casket is wide open. It's no wonder that in 2020, a couple of months ago, the American Psychological Association released an article that said Black Americans are suffering from mental sickness and mental illness because their churches are closed. And if only there was race-based social cultural intervention, that's our solution. So here's what we do. In a community that has been pushed down and suppressed by a lack of access in a pandemic, let's open up a super spreading place. That's justice rolling down like a mighty stream. So what? I'm not here to complain, because the reason I'm glad to be a part of a conversation today is because I have hope. Organizations like Riverside, you guys give me hope. Leadership and the service and the people that are putting together this work together, that gives me hope. All of you who've attended and participated today, that gives me hope. And like Paul says in Romans 5:5, hope makes me not ashamed. I'm not afraid to have some hope, because I'm joy-filled in my hope. Because something about this moment in my heart feels different, that we're seeking to create new experiences, to name lived experiences, to look at the totality of who people are, what people are thinking, and what people can become. I think we are here because we want a new normal. We want a new framework. We want a new pedagogy that will create dreams, unearth passions, reveal leadership, and have a revolution that is intersectional. To me, that sounds like something King dreamed about. To me, that sounds like something worth dying for. To me, that sounds like a legacy that I want my child to go to college and talk about what their parents worked for. That sounds like the work that will actually change a community and not just line pocketbooks. To me, that sounds like where Black men can honestly answer the question as to how they are without the fear that it will affect their jobs, their relationships, their masculinity, their engagements, how others see them, and won't position them in prison over the fear of being like their father and not like their father, or cause them to own their masculinity without toxicity. That to me sounds like fearless, purposeful living. That's the world I want to live in. It reminds me of this notion that I put in my research called the theology of the nod. Because in Black communities, there's something powerful, y'all. I don't have to know you. I don't have to know your name. But when I see you, I can nod at you. And when I nod at you, my head goes up and down, a smile comes on my face, because it tells a brother, it tells a sister, I see you. I don't know you, I don't know your dreams, but I acknowledge your dreams and I affirm your dreams. I don't know you, I don't know your story, I don't know your last name, but I affirm that you are bold and beautiful. I don't know you, I don't know your last name, I don't know how much money you make, but right now in a world where we seem like we're unseen, where our bodies are just proliferated for dollars, where it seems like it doesn't matter, you know what? I acknowledge You have a dream, so I'm going to nod at you because my humanity is going to acknowledge your divinity. And the divinity that's inside of you acknowledges my humanity. And I know this, that you are somebody, you are valuable. And my challenge to those of us leaving from this space, let us be people whose humanity affirms somebody else's humanity without even having to know them. We should not need more deaths in our community for us to want to give life to the people around you. If you see a player in the street, nod at them and affirm that their life matters without them needing to be a hashtag, that their life matters without their face being airbrushed on a t-shirt, that their life matters without them being told that they have to be gunned down to be seen, that my humanity acknowledges your humanity and affirms a divinity that is intersecting our paths today. So what are my challenges? I'll give you 3 quick things. If we're going to live these experiences, live these dreams, and what I believe that King stood for, that we can live out into the world. Number 1, I want you to name and own your principles. What do you really stand for? I think 2020 pushed us in a place where we had to be at home with our doors shut, windows closed, televisions on. And I don't know about you, but if I have to hear one more thing about a Tiger King, if I have to read one more thing about Bridgerton, shout out Shonda, right? Sitting inside of our homes, but it forced us to take a look in the mirror and really acknowledge, when I leave from my home, what am I going to make sure I stand for? Principles communicate more about you than your words do sometimes, because principles answer the question before the question's even asked. What do you stand for? What matters to you? Who and what are you living for? Number 2, I want you to be faithful to your future. I have this picture in my head of the best version of myself. I want every person to think about this, the best version of yourself. I mean, what are they wearing? I mean, come on, let's just be honest. Like, the best version of you, like what if they were to pull up to your house right now, what car are they driving? What type of cologne or perfume do they have? How is their hair positioned? How do they enter into a room? How are their shoulders positioned? What are they writing in their journal? What are their prayer points? How do they speak? Who's in their black book? I want you to think about the best version of yourself, and what would it be like to stop competing with others and start competing with the best version of yourself? To be faithful, to outdo. If everything were to go the way that you know it can go, you were competing to outdo the best version of you. Be faithful to that vision for your life. Be faithful to that dream. Don't live your life into the dreams others have for you, but live your life into the dream that you know you can fulfill. That's the power of vision. Love your future so much that you're not willing to compromise it. Love your future so much that you are willing to fight tooth and nail, so that years from now, even after you are buried in a grave, somebody will gather hundreds of people together to talk about the vision you had for a community that you fought for. Be faithful to your future. Lastly, I'll give you today is raise the bar and keep the bar. It's one thing to raise standards. It's another thing to keep standards. So I want you to raise the bar and then keep it. Raise the bar in your life. Raise the bar for how you'll be treated. Raise the bar for how you treat yourself, and then keep that bar. You know, I think this is a season where we've done so much about surviving through slavery, through Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow. We talk so much about surviving through civil rights and surviving through hip hop and surviving through AIDS and surviving through COVID. I think it's a time to thrive. And that's a decision personally, and I'm finished, I made in 2014. I showed you guys I was near the end of graduating from Vanderbilt University, my second master's. I was in a terrible, terrible season. I felt like I couldn't make it. I felt like I couldn't move forward. I actually carried a knife around in my backpack because I just knew at any given moment, there was no point of me living. It seemed like things were falling apart all around me. I was depressed, I was anxious, and yet here I was preaching to people, teaching people, and I'm losing my life. I'm losing my mind inside of my car, not able to sleep. And so one day I remember the day I sat there, I was in my apartment, and I attempted suicide for the second time, because the first time I decided I was going to take a bunch of pills and drink a bunch of things, and my roommate caught me, and I had to go to the hospital, get my stomach pumped. This time around, I had no roommate. I said, no one's going to find me. No one's going to engage with me. And I just simply wanted to die. And I remember sitting there in my apartment, making that decision. I cut my wrist. I was a cutter back in those times. And I remember my girlfriend, she's not my wife at the time, she was trying to get in contact with me. She knew I was in this very dark place. And so she happened to call the police. That came, the ambulance came to grab me. I remember sitting there, waking up in that hospital bed, saying, okay, God, I'm alive. I'm doing something. What is it that you need me to do? That next Sunday, I went to church. Didn't tell a lot of people. I went to church, and my pastor, who's since gone on to heaven, he asked me to pray at altar call. And at the time, I'm not your normal Black preacher. I don't do a lot of hollering and screaming. I'm not a television preacher. I'm myself. I'm authentic. I'm to myself. And I remember getting up in the pulpit to pray. I'm sitting there. I have wraps on my arms from the places where I cut myself. I'm sitting here knowing how dark my life was just a week and a half earlier. And my pastor said, Justin, I need you to pray. I got up and there's a picture. My pastor put his hand on my back, and a chairman of deacons put his hand on my back. And I remember praying. And y'all, I prayed like I never prayed before, because I've been told like I'm not a Black preacher. I'm not good enough for Black churches, all of this type of stuff. And I remember praying until I thought that God came down, told me to stop praying. I mean, y'all, when I tell y'all I prayed, your boy prayed. And I remember it was over. And I remember that Wednesday, my pastor and I, we had our weekly meeting, and I was talking to him, and he wanted me to go on a visit to the hospital with some members of our church. Went on a visit and went into this room with just one of our deacons who had fallen really sickly ill. We had prayed for him actually that Sunday, and he felt really, really ill. And we went to go visit Deacon and got to the room, just a wonderful guy. And he called me into his corner. He said, young man, come here. He didn't know my story. He didn't know what I was dealing with. And I came close to this deacon, sat down, respected him. And he said, young man, Justin, he said, you're not normal. You're not like most people I've met. And I laughed. I said, thank you. God bless you. He said, no, Justin, you have a voice. You have a voice. And I don't want you ever to lose your voice. I don't want you ever to give up on your voice. This man dying on his bed, not knowing my own story, not knowing what I had been through before. This man turned around and said, Sir Justin, use your voice, because your voice has power behind it. Your voice has something in it. I don't want you ever to give up on your voice. He ended up dying a week later, but his legacy lives on in my life, because you guys, I made a choice then to live. I made a choice then to use that voice. And the reason we're here today is because I'm not the only one who's used my voice. We're honoring a man who years ago used his voice. And so I'm challenging every person across this screen from me today, use your voice, use that power of authenticity, and you paint your world and life around you and circle around you with bold colors. Live the life you were created to live. Be so powerful that you fight daily to bulldoze to purpose. Use your voice, because there's somebody like me out there who wanted to give up, that needs to be reminded that their voice has power, their voice has authority, and who they are matters to the world. Live and be the person you've created to be, because somebody out there needs to see it. God bless and keep you. Thank you so much for listening today and allowing me to engage with you. God bless you.
Welcome again, Kimberley Locke.
Dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far, far, far behind me. All my troubles melt like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. Oh, that's where, that is where you will find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Oh, if birds can fly over the rainbow, then why, oh why can't I? Oh why, oh why, oh why, oh, if happy little bluebirds fly over the rainbow, somebody tell me why, somebody tell me why can't I?
Welcome from MindWise Innovations, Brian Cole.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian with MindWise. What an event. What an event. It means the world for me, for us, to have been invited to be a part of this. We're blown away, honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. MindWise, so what do? We're working really hard to provide think of it as a comprehensive approach to mental health and substance use, suicide prevention for schools, middle schools, high schools, communities, organizations, not just across Massachusetts, not just across the country, but across the globe. You know, it's kind of interesting when you think about 70% of employees want their employers to provide more information about mental health benefits, more resources, more education. And within MindWise, that's what we really try to do. We try to fill that gap. We try to provide those behavioral health consulting, the screening, education, and training. As part of today's event, we're awfully proud to share an opportunity with you, to share an opportunity for self-care. And think about that for a minute. That's not something that we talk about often, self-care. As Reverend Lester pointed out earlier, the question, how are you? I think of it this way. It's okay to ask yourself, how are you? How am I? That idea of self-care, taking care of your own mental health. So in a moment, you're going to receive a link to a tool that I encourage you to use that'll connect you to a couple of brief screens that you can use to check in on your own mental health, or maybe it's questions, concerns you might even have around substance use. A few things to know about those screens. One, self-screening is a great way to learn about signs of behavioral health challenges. Helps educate you on exactly what it might be you're experiencing, what you're feeling, or maybe even what you're witnessing in someone else. Maybe you don't have the words, the understanding of what it is you're experiencing with and or in someone else. So screen for yourself or screen on behalf of someone else. You can select screens that best reflect what it is you're feeling, experiencing. These screens are educational. They're not diagnostic. Please consult your doctor or a clinician should you need treatment, but think of them as educational. Think of them as giving you the language, the words to better understand what it is you might be feeling, experiencing. Know that these screens are 100% anonymous. We're not collecting any personal information. And finally, guys, they're fast, they're quick, up to 30 seconds, maybe a minute or two. And again, provides you with information once you've done the screen, provides you with information, links to resources that you could use, again, for yourself or for someone else. So we hope you find value in this opportunity to, I don't know, check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how are you? How am I? At no cost to you. You will see a link shortly, whether it's in the comments field or or in the chat field, you'll see a link to the platform. And again, we just encourage you to check in on yourself. Thank you.
Please welcome once again, Jerome Kyles.
The third Monday of January each year is a very important day for our nation to take time to reflect and be thankful for the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In addition, the second month of the year is an opportunity to remember the many contributions of Black people in America. A song symbolic of the significance of these celebrations is Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift Every Voice and Sing, often referred to as the Black National Anthem in the United States. It's a hymn written as a poem by James Weldon Johnson. Many people are surprised to learn that Lift Every Voice and Sing was first written as a poem. The first time it was performed by 500 school children in celebration of President Lincoln's birthday on February 12, 1900 in Jacksonville, Florida. It should be noted, considering our focus for today, that President Lincoln too struggled with mental illness. Ultimately, the poem was set to music by Johnson's brother, John Rosamond Johnson, and soon adopted by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. They adopted it as its official song, and today, Lift Every Voice and Sing is one of the most cherished songs of the African-American civil rights movement, and is often referred to as the Black National Anthem. In honor of these two important celebratory acknowledgements we recognize today, please join me in the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy light led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places where God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the forget thee, shadowed beneath thy hand. May we forever stand true to our God and true to our native land.
All I can say is wow. Wow. What an amazing time we have had today. Whew. I really would like to thank our special guest, Miss Kimberley Locke, Reverend Justin Lester, oh my goodness, and Professor Jerome Kyles. You all never disappoint, never. Thank you so much. Yeah, you could show up, come on the screen. Let's see, Jerome, Kimberley, Justin Lester, yes. Thank you. I'm speechless. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, Jerome, where are you? Where are you? Yes, 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 yes. That's all I can say. This was amazing. This was absolutely amazing. And to Scott Bach, thank you. To Paulo Fulton, thank you. You all trust me. You haven't known me long. Most people trust me already, but you guys kind of trust me to do things. So this was awesome that you trusted me and you supported this effort. Thank you so very much for that. And we are doing our part to definitely put forth effort to drive positive culture change across Riverside. And this, I hope you all see, is a reflection of that effort. I also want to thank Allison Rivers for your partnership in marketing this event. Thank you to Brian from MindWise for helping us pull together this awesome giveaway. And that giveaway will be available, the link. Make sure you grab that link. It will be available to you at no cost through the weekend. So please grab it. If you need to give to someone else who might need it, please leverage that. I think it's an amazing gift. Also want to thank our behind the scenes folks. We couldn't pull this off without Aaron Lurch and Rebecca Bohinke. Thank you both so much for your work behind the scenes. It makes our online experiences just possible. And we thank you so much for that. And finally, thank each of you. Thank all of you for joining us today. We appreciate you for joining us today. And again, to our wonderful guest on the screen, give them a wonderful wave goodbye, you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. And as we close out, please drop those comments in the chat. We want to hear from you, our guests. Let them know. Let them know how much you appreciate what we've experienced today.